I am back with another video. It is Monday and I'm just coming off vacation. This is something that I didn't mention to you guys last week. By the way, shout out to each and every one of you who wished me a happy birthday. I appreciate that. Is it a good time to get an LTL? And you know, why is a scary time to get an LTL? We all know the economy right now, you know, it isn't the best. And in terms of the trucking industry, some of the people who are experiencing a tough time right now are definitely LTL drivers and also, OTR drivers that's transporting freight around all across the country. They're really feeling it right now. OTR drivers, obviously, you got the low freight rates, and it doesn't matter if you're a company driver or owner operator or at least owner operator. Those guys are really feeling it. Guys and gals, they're really feeling it. And when it comes to LTL, it's just not enough work to go around. And so, it's tough. It's tough for the LTL drivers out there, particularly those who have low seniority, little to no seniority. Those guys are really feeling it, right? I was watching a video yesterday or earlier this morning. It was an LTL driver. I'm not going to say who or what company this person works for, but he works for a pretty good company in the LTL space, at least in my opinion. And he was talking about how bad it has gotten for him. He said it's to the point now to where he's only working 1 day a week. And now he's like, he's at the point to where he's looking at other options. He said he really don't want to leave his company. He has a few years of experience. So it's not like, he just got there. Although in the trucking world, a few years of experience, 2-3 years, that's not a long time. So in terms of seniority, he's still low on the totem pole. But he was talking about how now, he's starting to look at other options. He's like, look, I really don't want to leave this company, but at the same time, I got to put food on the table. So, he's kind of trying to figure out what he should do. And he talked about some of the options, some of the things that he's thinking about doing. And, he asked the viewers to give him, some opinions and some suggestions, I guess, recommendations on what they would do. And then I'm reading the comments and I see all these different suggestions from viewers who are also in the LTL world, and they're kind of throwing out things and, talking about what they would do if they were him. And this has always been my thing about LTL. Shout out to all my LTL drivers. I know I got a lot of you guys that watch the channel. I appreciate your support. But here are my only two issues with LTL and why going to LTL, this has always been in the back of my mind when I think about would I ever go to LTL, right? If I were to leave food service. And it's not the job itself, because, like all the LTL drivers say, look, all I do is drop and hook. And that's great. All you do is drop and hook. You don't have to touch freight. That's amazing, right? Very easy. But here's my thing with LTL. Number one, LTL is highly predicated on what the economy is doing. Like a lot of jobs out there, a bad economy is definitely going to have some impact on most jobs. But some jobs are going to get hit a little harder than others. And that's where LTL comes in at. Because LTL is going to get hit harder than, say, the fuel industry, right? We all need fuel, gas, diesel, that's always going to be in demand. We need it. Food, for example, food service. People need to eat. So, those type of industries aren't gonna get hit as hard as, say, LTL, where you just, you're moving freight around from one place to another. OTR drivers, moving freight from one shipper to the next, all across the country. Those jobs get hit a little harder. And so, in a bad economy, an economy that in the trucking space, they're calling a freight recession right now because the rates are so bad. In a bad economy where, there's not a lot of work out there to go around amongst the drivers in the LTL world, the guys on the bottom with low seniority are hurting. So I'm listening to this driver talk last night, and he talked about how, they've laid off a lot of people, right? I think he mentioned, in one session they laid off like 5, and then they laid off 10 or 12 people. And, he basically was saying, he's getting close to the chopping block, right? And, that's an uncomfortable feeling when, you don't know if you're going to get laid off or not. Particularly when you have, all these different financial obligations and responsibilities that you have to take care of. And, that's the life of an LTL driver, man. It's just a lot of ups and downs, a lot of fluctuations in the market, to where it can get to the point to you getting laid off. And that could be scary for the average person who may not have a lot of capital saved up or a lot of reserves, right? Like, if you're an LTL and you don't have a backup plan, you're gonna be in trouble. Or if you don't have a lot of money saved up to fall back on during times like these, or when it slows down, you're gonna be in trouble. If you're a new driver, a new CDL driver, and your plan is to get into LTL, I'll be honest, I wouldn't recommend it. When you see guys that actually have a couple years under their belts, that's, having a difficult time getting runs, only working 1 day a week, and this is not at every location or every company, right? If you have seniority and you're in LTL, you probably aren't experiencing, this as much or at all even, right? If you have seniority, a lot of years under your belt, then you probably aren't getting hit as hard. But if you're new, thinking about getting into LTL, you're probably, maybe doing a driver program if you're new, or some type of, training program to where you want to get into LTL and start your career there. Man, you just really need to know, do your homework. That's all I gotta say. Do your homework and understand the fluctuations in LTL. Hopefully you're able to talk to somebody who has experience, that's been doing it for a while, that can give you some really good advice and explain to you, like, look, we have ups and downs in the market, and you need to save your money, because when this period of time comes, it's going to be slow. And or you may even potentially be laid off or furloughed or something along those lines. So these are some things that you need to look out for. These are some things that you can expect in LTL. And a lot of LTL drivers don't talk about these things. A lot of LTL drivers just talk about all the good that come along with LTL. And when I say good, most of the times, like I said, you'll hear, all I do is drop and hook. You know what I'm saying? And again, that's great. And depending on the company, you may hear about, the benefits. Some companies, you may have a pension. All that's great. But, if you get to the point to where you're not getting that paycheck every week or every 2 weeks, I mean, how much does that other stuff even matter? Right? If you gotta choose between whether or not to stick it out here so you can get to the pension or continue to take advantage of the insurance or the benefits, if you having to choose between trying to put food on the table, I mean, some people can't wait it out. Some people have bills that they need that paycheck coming in. I just posted a stat a few days ago showing the statistics when it comes to people living paycheck to paycheck. It was over 62%. So that's a real thing. Some people are living paycheck to paycheck, so they can't afford to not get a full paycheck every week or every 2 weeks. They just simply can't afford that. So some people have to make a decision. Man, can I wait out this storm so I don't lose the little seniority I got, so I don't lose the company paid benefits? Can I wait out this storm and what's going on with the economy? Because I know down the road in the future, if I can stick it out, it's gonna be sweet. It's scary right now in the LTL world. And I think LTL drivers will tell you it's tough right now. That doesn't mean it's gonna be like this always. But right now, it's probably not a good idea to get in the LTL. Just to add some context around the whole economy and the whole freight recession talk. Just to kind of give you guys an idea, some of you company drivers that, really don't pay attention to what's going on in the trucking industry outside of whatever you're doing. So I was reading an article from the Time magazine, and the headline of this article was "The Trucking Bubble Has Burst." It goes on to talk about this married couple and how they decided to leave the construction industry that they were in to get into the trucking industry back in 2020, right around the onset of the pandemic. And it was booming during that time. They made a lot of money, rates were great, fuel prices were down, it was fantastic. The market was so good, this couple decided to buy another truck. They decided to take out a loan for like $80,000 to get this truck, and they also hired another driver, right? But shortly after that, I think late 2021, something like that, the market started to go in a decline. So at one point they were getting like $4 to $5 a mile, and then it drastically dropped to the point to where they were getting like $1, $2 a mile, right? And so it got really bad. It got so bad they had to let one of the trucks go. They're still making payments on the loan. They end up getting behind on the payments. To make a long story short, they ended up having to sell the other truck and go back to the construction industry. What's even more crazy is that when they sold the truck was valued at about $30,000, and they paid about $80,000 for the truck. And so they lost, $50,000 on this truck just due to high interest rates and things of that nature. So they lost money there. And in addition to that, they said they still had about $15,000 in unpaid tolls that they were facing. So, they talked about how they basically lost everything. They had to give up their apartment. And they're just, up to their eyeballs in debt is what they stated. And, it just got really bad for them. And that situation right there is the situation and the reality that a lot of truck drivers out there are facing right now, particularly some of the owner-operators, lease owner-operators and things of that nature. That's the reality of what's going on right now. So, you know, this couple said they just couldn't afford it anymore. Between the expenses that they had to do to maintain the truck, you know, the repairs and all that, you know, maintenance costs and fuel and all these different things, they just couldn't afford it anymore. So they had to go back to the construction industry. And now they, you know, have a ton of debt. And, you know, it's a terrible story. It's a terrible situation. And unfortunately, like I said, a lot of people are going through that right now. And they talked about it at one point, they were getting $4,500. They was netting $4,500 to take a load from New York to Texas in 2021. And in 2023, that same load going the same distance drastically decreased to $1,900. That's more than half of their profits gone. More than half. That's a huge decrease. And so, again, when the rates drop so low to more than half of your profits are gone, not everybody is in a position to weather that type of storm. And so, all I'm saying is this, guys. Understand the market we're in and be very selective about what your next moves are in this trucking space. If you're gonna take risks, you need to take a calculated risk in the market that we're in right now. You really need to do your market research, do some analysis on the market, and see if it makes sense. Look at the truck prices if your goal is to become an owner-operator. If your goal is to get into LTL, look at the LTL market. Talk to some LTL drivers. Ask them how they're doing. Ask them if they think it's a good idea to get into LTL right now. Talk to some of these people that's actually doing the business, so you can kind of check the temperature and see what everybody is saying before you just dive into it. That's what I would say. Be informed, man, so you can make an informed decision and a smart decision, so you're not caught off guard or by surprise by everything that's going on right now in the market. Listen, man, that's all I got for you guys right now. Once again, it's a scary time in the trucking industry as a whole, but being aware of what's going on will help you make a better decision when it comes to choosing certain jobs out here. If you're a company driver, or again, if you are someone who wants to become an owner-operator or a lease owner-operator, see what some of those owner-operators are saying. It's a bunch of them on YouTube right now talking about their situation. So check out some of these owner-operators. Check out some of the lease owner-operators. Some people are finding success, but the majority of the owner-operators that I see, the lease owner-operators, you know, they're having a difficult time right now trying to navigate through this whole economy. All right, so good luck to each and every one of you guys out there. Hope each and every one of you guys have success in your respective jobs. You know, that's whether you're an owner-operator or company driver. Remember, if you're new to the channel, do me a favor, man. Consider subscribing to the channel if you get any value. Definitely hit that like button for me. And until the next video, I'll catch y'all on the next one, man. Y'all take care. Peace.